sound they make. Oh, it's a nutria. Matthew, you see it?
The marshes of Louisiana are full of plants and creatures that are perfectly adapted to their environment. Everything has a place here, from the grass to the fish to the alligators. But not everything you see belongs here. Like other ecosystems, southern Louisiana has an invasive species problem. Humans love to meddle with the natural order of things. Because of that, creatures and plants worldwide are destroying our environment. Chief among the invasives is a rodent that is eating our coast alive, the Nutria rat. Join me and my team as we search through the land, water, and air for Louisiana's biggest nuisance. When I was filming my last documentary on swamp cows, I was trying to find ways that they were impacting their environment, but multiple times I was pointed towards other creatures that had more of an impact on the environment than they did. The Nutria was the main one. Growing up in Louisiana, it's pretty much impossible to not at least have heard of these giant rodents. But for people who don't live here, let me fill you in. A Nutria rat is a giant semi-aquatic rodent, not a rat as the name would imply, with an average adult weighing 10 to 20 pounds. Their bodies are about 16 to 24 inches long, with a long, hard rat tail adding another 12 to 18 inches to its length. Nutria have solid black webbed feet for swimming and 5-fingered hands. They also have pretty long whiskers, but there's one Nutria characteristic that sets it apart from other rodents: their vibrant, long, orange front teeth. Their orange color comes from the large presence of iron in their enamel. Every part of this animal makes it perfect for devouring every plant it can get its grubby little hands on. Okay, but why is this a problem? Does Louisiana not have the natural predators to even their population out? How can a rodent have that big of an impact on the environment anyway? My team and I wanted to figure this out, but we couldn't get out into the field without doing a little research first. I reached out to professors at Louisiana State University, in animal sciences, and even in an invasive species department. Later we got a call from Andy Nyman, a professor at the LSU School for Renewable Natural Resources. That wasn't until after our adventure was through though. I'm going to show you this interview now and throughout the video, but when you see our journey, I want you to remember that we only had some info on Nutria. We hadn't yet talked to Professor Nyman.
In the early 1900s, fur was an important commodity. It was an important part of people's incomes. They experimented with bringing Nutria in. Some went up to the Pacific Northwest. Some came to Louisiana. That was in the early, I would say, 1930s.
The Nutria were imported from all over the warmer areas of South America. Local legends and rumors have blamed the arrival of the rats on the McElhenney family. If that name doesn't sound familiar to you, maybe the name of their product line will. The McElhenney family produces Tabasco. Sorry, did I mention I love Tabasco? They produce Tabasco on an island called Avery Island here in Louisiana, one that I've clearly been to a million times. Records show that Edward Avery McElhenney imported a population of Nutria. Rumors claim that he used them to keep the height of the grass on Avery Island down. He's also known for going on record and saying at the time that introducing Nutria to the Louisiana ecosystem might be beneficial to the fur trade.
And either intentionally or accidentally, they made it out and onto our landscape, and they've been here ever since.
Most of this is just rumor though. McElhenney did have a population of Nutria. That much is clear, you could see it in the pictures. But whether or not he introduced them to the marsh is unclear. According to the book Swamp Rat by Theodore G. Motto, records show that McElhenney was decidedly not the first to bring Nutria to America. There are import and sales records of Nutria being brought in across Louisiana decades before McElhenney did in the 1930s. Regardless of how they got there, it's pretty clear that they've adapted to our environment very well.
Up in a habitat like this, they will eat what's coming up, and then here you're gonna have trees, so they'll eat baby trees, young trees. You know, a little bit of that is okay. A lot of that can change the vegetation out there. In a place like this, it's gonna change the vegetation that you have, and that can have, you know, consequences that affect things beyond them, for decades. What tree species are going to be dominant here, important here. Out in our coastal marshes, they affect the grass, and they can actually reduce the amount of grass you have.
With their five-fingered hands, they don't just eat grass and saplings like cows would. They rip the entire plant out of the ground and eat it, root and all.
The roots then get thinner, and the roots, the live roots, on one hand they build our elevation. We assume that they reduce the ability of our coastal marshes to build up elevation. With the hurricanes, and the soil is weaker, and we assume that they can reduce the ability of our coastal marshes to survive a hurricane.
When storms come through, or even just waves from boats, that water laps up against that weak, muddy land and it falls right into the water. In areas with levee systems, that land is not coming back anytime soon. But none of this answers our first question. Do our natural predators not cull the population enough to stop significant damage? The answer is no, and that's because of two factors: Nutria's high conception rate and Louisiana's year-long wet season.
One of my favorite quotes is, "Every female we captured was either pregnant, lactating, or both," in a year-round study of Nutria in Florida. That was from the 1950s. So they will have 3 litters a year, 2 to 3, 4 per litter.
And this rapid expansion is a big problem because of Louisiana's seasons. If you live here, you already know what I'm talking about.
We assume that they came from an area with a very seasonal wet-dry cycle down in South America. And every year the water dries up and the predators can eat them easy. So the nutria population gets reduced a lot every year. And then it starts raining again, they can spread out, and then you gotta fill up again. We don't have that wet and dry cycle in coastal Louisiana. They're breeding year-round.
Although Louisiana is known as the birthplace of the nuisance, Nutria are invasive as far as South Korea and as close as Washington State and Florida. Okay, that's enough explaining for you. You already know significantly more than I or my team knew before we went on our journey. Our adventure started on January 19th, 2025, when me and my videographers Wilton and Matt started our trek south of Houma, Louisiana, in search of the rats.
What's the angle today for these nutrients? What are we looking to find? What are we looking to shoot?
So we're looking to find, I'm being real pessimistic here, but I think we're going to find at least 1 or 2 of these nutria. I'm really hoping we do. I've heard reports from people who live in the Houma area that they're so abundant that people just see nutria in the ditch or like in the Walmart parking lot.
We're gonna save them where they're shipping back to China where they belong.
No, they're from South America, but
Oh wait, shit. That's what I was thinking.
look, I told you my team didn't know a lot about this, okay? I don't even think I told Matt where the nutria originally came from before we left the house. We made our way an hour and a half south of Baton Rouge to the Mandalay National Wildlife Refuge Nature Trail. Today we're here at Mandalay National Wildlife Refuge and we're looking for nutria rats. Let's go. The sun was out, but it was 40 degrees outside and the wind was blowing hard. So we parked in one of the nature trail's 2 parking spots and started making our way through the swamp.
Follow me!
At this point, we frankly had no idea what we were looking for. Something poking out of the water, maybe an unfamiliar sound.
We're still looking, as you can see. This is the kind of area we're searching.
We used our cameras as telescopes the best we could. We were told by the people who run the nature trail that there might be some nutria laying out in the sun. We mostly stuck to the trail until I saw a burrow, even though I wasn't sure they made those at the time. I hope they didn't, but I mean, they could.
In the coastal marshes, they don't burrow. Now, if you have them around here, they might burrow into the banks of the bayou here. If you've got levees, they can burrow into levees, and that can be a problem.
We saw birds of all kinds, but no nutria. So far what we've found is nothing. I think Wilton's already a little disappointed, but we'll find something. Then Matt and Wilton found the geocache off the beaten path with City of Houma stickers and a logbook. What's in it?
Some sort of vial. I don't know.
Oh,
I don't know what's in there.
The vial was full of some sort of vanilla perfume. I was hoping it was like maybe Nutria pheromones. But of course we had to get some sort of commentary from Matt, who made the wrong claim that people can't actually smell vanilla.
Did you know that you can't smell vanilla, only taste it?
Why just smell this?
Well, you're wrong.
I don't know if I can trust someone who can't even see red green.
That's different. Those are different senses. You're just being a bully now.
Can't smell stupid either, Matt.
After whatever that was, we decided to start making our way off the path in certain areas whenever we thought we saw something or heard a sound.
Kind of in the marsh right now, huh? Squishing. Walking around. Get on that log, Matt. Get on that log. You want to hand me the camera?
Nah. Nah.
Matt, let me hear yours.
Can you go further? Look, man, I got taller boots than you. I could probably... Look, let me get to where you're at.
That's where they went. I'm sure of it. I'm like 60% sure of it. I'm on the edge right now.
Oh, glory.
And I'm hanging on the moment of truth.
The truth was that we weren't going to find anything walking that trail. So Wilton and I took a look at the map of trails in the area, and after lunch, we decided to make our way to Bayou Teche, an hour west of Mandalay. When we got there, we walked along the levee and the waterway next to it, looking off the edge of the water line for any sign of life.
Honestly, when there's not bugs, this swamp's kind of lit. I'll read a book out here.
You'd read a book out here?
Again, we saw all the birds we could ask for, and even a swimming alligator, which was a shock to us, because alligators aren't supposed to move when the water's that cold.
Alligator.
But that was it. No sign of Nutria anywhere. Pretty soon, I was driving us back home, feeling pretty bad for dragging Matt and Wilton along on my wild goose chase in the cold. 2 days later, it was my birthday, and it soon became obvious why we didn't see any Nutria when we went out.
That's the snow showing up on the visible satellite view.
This is the most snow that New Orleans has ever seen in recorded weather history.
Wow. 30, Grand Isle 29 degrees.
As if I hadn't learned anything from the last video. I'm in Louisiana. There's no way that I can try to make a documentary without some sort of natural phenomena. Hurricane, and now snow. And now enjoy some video of my husky.
Well, down here I've always felt like I could always build my song right into the teeth of the storm.
Look at his mouth.
The rain's bound to flood the bayou. Makes you wonder why you settle.
We're walking headfirst into the snow, as you can see by it slamming me in the face. And good God. Here's Kylie.
Hi.
Yeah, this birthday snow is proving to be pretty good. Although it looks like we're probably not going to be able to go see any Nutria for the next week or so. But who knows? It's Louisiana. It could be 70 in 2 days.
I wasn't too far off there. In just a few days, the temperature had risen significantly and all the snow had melted. It was then that I started calling everyone that I knew, and I do mean everyone, trying to get a boat ride scheduled for the 1st of February. I tried to call in every favor I possibly could. Eventually, after a dozen calls or so, I called my friend Richie Blake, who lives down in Venice, Louisiana, who owns Delta Discovery Tours. Of course, he couldn't give us a ride either, but he knew someone who could. Soon, I had set up plans with Captain R.J. Messmer and his friend Captain Clint Stewart with inshore fishing charters to get out into the waters of Empire and spend as much time as it would take to find a Nutria. Before I get into detail about our wildly successful trip, let's hear a word from our sponsor.
Hi, I'm Kim Shushka, and welcome to Okie Tokie.
I want to thank our sponsor for this video, Okie Toki. Okie Toki is a build-your-own bowl-style Korean restaurant in downtown Baton Rouge, located next to Main Street Market on the corner of Main and 6. Owner Kim Shushka founded Okie Toki in 2024 with the vision to bring approachable Korean dishes to Louisiana. There's a wide array of ingredients to pick from, including some sourced straight from South Korea. Some of the options for your bowl include Korean fried chicken bites, house marinated shrimp, and traditional soy pickled daikon radishes. Every bowl can be topped with a sauce of your choosing, perfectly wrapping up the bowl you've been craving all week. Okie Toki is open Monday through Saturday, 10:30 to 3:30. Thanks again to Kim and Okie Toki for sponsoring this video. On February 1st at 6:30 a.m., Matt and I started making our way down to Empire on the west bank of the Mississippi River. We tried to record ourselves talking a little on the way there. Of course, the footage somehow had no audio. But after 2.5 hours, we made it and met RJ and Clint at the marina. After setting up for a minute, we set sail. This wasn't the only place we traveled to that day, so stay tuned for something special. This was the first marina that I've ever been to with a lock, so that was interesting. Once the water equaled out, we crossed the river to the east bank and started looking for nutria in the shallow channels along the muddy banks.
Where's my pleasure? Where is my innocence?
First we saw an otter from so far away that we thought it was our first nutria.
That's gotta be a nutria. Its head's too long.
Who's to say what's good for me?
I wish I had known what Professor Nyman told me later on about where the nutria make their homes.
They will fold the grass over and make like a little platform that looks like they can lay on or eat on, or maybe they don't have to sleep in the water if the water comes up a few inches.
It wasn't long before we found a whole family of them down the canal.
Oh, it's a nutria! Matthew, you see it? Right there, Matthew.
He's swimming like a nutria. See how they hide?
We couldn't get too close before the sound of the boat would scare them away. I'm sure Captain RJ's funny ringtone didn't help either. When we continued our search, we came to find that our guides weren't used to seeing the nutria so shy, or as Captain RJ kept calling them, spooky.
Back growing up and everything, there was a lot more than they got now. It's mainly now wiping out, trying to get rid of them because they're destroying the land. You'll see them walk across the flats a lot, but they're all going for this new grass. This little stuff coming up like this, that's what they like a lot of that. Every time you seen a flat, you'd see a nutria on it, if not more than one. Sometimes it'd be single, sometimes it'd be a whole family like we seen earlier and all.
Soon we found some more making their way across the channel. If it wasn't for Matt's telephoto lens, I don't think we would have been able to get close enough to get any footage at all. Of course, on our ride, we got to hear Captain RJ's theories about how and why the nutria were introduced to the marsh.
From what I understand, nutria were brought here to breed with the muskrats to make a better type of pelt. And then that's when they got loose and decided they'd breed their own self.
The conversation took a little bit of a turn, and it became clear to Matt and me why the nutria were considered so spooky.
Since that time, they came out with a bounty on them and everything else, so now you got a lot more people hunting them for the tails rather than the way they used to do in the old school, wanting the skin and hide and selling the hides and all.
I'm sure our calls didn't help.
It's time to whip out the nutria call.
Oh, I smoke.
See,
Probably not. Well, look at that.
Oh, that was him. Oh, I thought he's trying to do it.
Higher pitch though.
Yeah, what sound do they make?
It turns out the little environmental criminals have a bounty, not on their head, but on their tails. The Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fisheries gives $6 a tail to anyone with a nutria selling license. When I first heard this, I assumed that it was a blanket bounty that covered all of Louisiana, but it turns out Wildlife and Fisheries is a lot more specific than that.
For a little over 20 years, the Department of Wildlife and Fisheries has been flying these transects. I think they're about 2 miles apart, so it's a lot of miles. It takes them like 2 weeks to fly these north to south lines across coastal Louisiana. And what they're doing is they're From the air, they're mapping damaged vegetation where the effect of the Nutria is great enough that you can see it from the air. The reason that they're flying those transects is not just to evaluate the effectiveness, it's to direct the next year's effort. Each year they do that, and based on the damage they see, then they say, okay, this part of this parish is eligible for the harvest incentive this year.
As much as we heard the word bounty all day from our boat captains, and as much as you'll hear me say it throughout the rest of the video, it's technically considered a harvest incentive.
When they started, they were looking at about 80,000 acres, they're estimating statewide from that sample, are damaged by Nutria. Since they initiated that, the damaged acres has gone down to about less than 20,000 acres each year. They didn't want to have to do that. First they tried to keep the pelts, the fur market up. Let people who want to wear furs pay for taking them off the landscape. Then they tried to get people to eat them on the plate. The last thing that was tried, there was a company using pet food.
Every person I interviewed up to this point in the story had eaten Nutria in some capacity in any dish from gumbo to just by itself. Nutria has more protein, less fat, and less cholesterol than chicken, beef, or pork of the same serving size. But when the initiative for the Nutria to find its way to the plate of Louisianians failed, Wildlife and Fisheries started the harvest incentive. Although you could still find recipes online like Nutria gumbo and sausage, books like After the Hunt by Chef John Folse feature simpler recipes like smothered and stuffed Nutria. Some say that most people never got on the Nutria eating bandwagon simply because of the word rat in the name. It was all to keep the population down. They found as long as upwards of 200,000 Nutria are called each year, their effects on the coast remain minimal. In Venice, Louisiana, the Nutria Rodeo is held annually, where the only goal is to kill as many Nutria as possible. Last year, they contributed 1,400 to that necessary 200,000. We calculated this by taking the total profit earned from Nutria at the rodeo and dividing that number by 6 to get our total. Nutria are also used for target practice in drainage canals for the Jefferson Parish SWAT team. Continuing our trip, we saw plenty more Nutria. The best shots were all thanks to Matt and the drone. Downriver to the Neptune Pass, we heard gunshots and assumed there were people hunting pigs. I looked over to my left and saw 2 people standing in their boat, waving their arms in the air, trying to get our attention. We drove over to them only to find that they had lost their propeller in the middle of the river and had to paddle back to the shore with a bucket lid. We tied them to the back of the boat and made our way back to where they had launched.
Documentary.
Oh yeah! Let this be a lesson to anyone planning on making a water-based trip like this. Always have an extra motor of some kind, and always have a set of oars on hand. You never know what might happen.
That ain't a usual thing to happen there. All the stuff you got just to get the shaft out, it's amazing that the whole thing just came out.
Well, thank you, man. Appreciate it. You owe us one thing. Say bye to the camera.
Very much. Bless you. Thank you.
Witness a typical conversation between me and Matt.
Oscar saves the freaking day.
Huh?
I said Oscar saves the freaking day.
Oh yeah. You know, if it wasn't for me, those people would be stranded.
With the power of bifocals, he too can spot you from a mile away.
Bifocals my ass.
That's what they are. That's what they are.
Make no mistake, all of the credit goes to our generous captains for the day. Anyway, after we dropped them off at the boat launch, we made our way to Neptune Pass. Neptune Pass is a diversion in the Mississippi River, similar to the Mardi Gras Pass and the Bohemia Spillway that I've talked about in previous videos. It brings in fresh water and silt from the Mississippi to the saltwater ecosystem of the Gulf Coast.
So that's why you guys got land building right here, huh?
It's building and going.
Yeah.
Going where it used to be and rebuilding in different places.
That's what a diversion will do.
Going into a channel on the side of the pass, we ran into a swamp cow. This one didn't even want to look at us until we were leaving. We actually saw some in Mandalay too. Wilton was pretty upset because when he came with me last time to look for swamp cows, we found nothing.
Where's the beef?
Now this time we weren't even looking for them, and there they were.
We're out here in Houma looking for nutrias, and finally, inexplicably, see a bunch of swamp cows. I'm obviously upset. Didn't get to see any swamp cows, so yeah, this is a real bovine slap in the face.
We ended up seeing a few more nutria.
There's nothing funny about Nutria, except their stupid yellow teeth and their webbed feet.
For Captain RJ's interview, we stepped off onto some marsh with the Neptune Pass carving out so much land that Captain Clint said the drop-off was 22 feet. The spot we stopped at was covered with tracks and droppings from every marsh-dwelling animal you can think of.
Do you know the difference between the droppings?
The what?
The droppings, like the shit?
No, Nutria's easy to find. It looks like a green peanut.
Looks like a green peanut?
Close to it.
After the interview, we got back in the boat, got back in the car, and started making our way home. But first, don't think I forgot. We had to stop somewhere special. With all of this talk about Nutria, I've neglected to talk about the most popular one there is. Not just here in Louisiana, but all of the United States. An hour and a half up the road in Metairie, sitting in Dennis's Seafood, is Neuty the Nutria. Neuty made national and some international news when his owner, Denny Lacoste, became the first legal Nutria owner in Louisiana. He's currently popular on TikTok with over 30,000 followers. Since Neuty can't tell his own story, we talked to his dad.
I was coming to work one day, driving down West Esplanade, and a mama nutria and about 5 or 6 of her babies. They were about this big, was crossing the road.
This is the same place the Jefferson Parish SWAT team hunt Nutria.
And I stopped to let them get to the canal, and a car, they got in the left lane, and the car passed me up and ran over a bunch of them. And he was the only one that wasn't really squished, so I just reached down, picked him up, and he had just a hurt paw. Took him home, and my wife started feeding him kitten milk from Petco.
Yeah.
And after a few days, I could see he was doing good, loving. I called the wildlife fishery, said I rescued a baby nutria. Are they legal to have? And they said, yeah, but we don't recommend it. He started coming to work with me. A lot of my customers know him, very friendly. The radio station, Bayou 95.7, contacted us because he hangs out the window like a dog. So people was always taking pictures and all, and videos, and it went viral. And they contacted me, said, can we make him the mascot? I'm like, oh yeah, you know. He comes to work with me every day. And when he was 2.5 years old, a guy seen me going down West Esplanade with him and wanted to know, his friend was a senior writer for the NOLA Advocate, and wanted to know if he'd come see him. So I'm like, yeah. So this guy came, dug, and fell in love with Neuty, did all kind of interviews. It went on the news. Well, the next day, the Wildlife and Fisheries showed up here. Well, Neuty wasn't here, and they kind of hassled me. And some businessman, a prominent businessman stepped in, the state senator, and basically I got issued a permit to keep Neuty, because they had, somebody started a petition, Free Neuty. He got like 20,000 signatures. He has a pet living inside. He's 2.5 years old, and the wildlife fishery is gonna try to take him and bring him to the Baton Rouge Zoo, you know? And it kind of pissed a lot of people off. And so the wildlife fisheries got such a bad publicity about it that they relinquished and issued me the only permit in the state to keep a pet nutria.
That permit sits framed next to the door of Dennis's Seafood and reads, I, Billy Nungesser, by the authority vested in me as Lieutenant Governor of the State of Louisiana, hereby pardon Neuty the Nutria. It sits next to an informational plaque made by Wildlife and Fisheries.
Now, this permit is just for him. When he dies, no more.
I'm going to pause everything, including the music, right here to say that not everyone approved of Neuty's permit. This is a clip from Neuty's TikTok of Danny bringing Neuty to Bourbon Street before the Super Bowl. When he goes to places like this, Danny makes sure that he always has Neuty's permit on him and ready. And it proved useful in this situation because right after this clip, Wildlife and Fisheries pulled Neuty and Danny aside. I was told that they took one look at Neuty's permit and none of the agents cracked a smile. The Lacoste family claims that there's some sort of standing disdain towards Neuty from the agency. And Neuty really is adorable.
Come on, Lazy. Come on, Lazy. Yeah, you better get up. Come on, quit stretching. He's very loving and he's sweet. He's just kind of like a dog, really, you know. Clean. He lives in my house. He's house trained.
Pretty soon after we met him, he started sniffing us and letting us pet him. Thank God for Neuty too, or we'd never have gotten those close-ups you saw earlier.
What? Talk. Talk. Oh yeah, he's very friendly. He don't bite. He's very good.
Those teeth are so orange.
Uh-huh.
That's usually how I pet my...
Yeah, the back feet are webbed. Like I said, just the back.
We saw him eat one of his favorite treats, a milk bone. Look at his little hands. And when he was done eating, he wanted to get picked up just like a dog.
Oh, he loves you.
Oh, yeah.
Then we took him on a little trip outside into the grass by the parking lot and got to watch him walk around and eat. Notice the way he's eating this grass though. Are you noticing how he's not just eating the surface of it? We got to see firsthand the problem with Nutria consumption that I mentioned earlier. Neuty completely pulls the grass out of the ground and then eats it, root and all, leaving nothing to regrow. But that's not the only thing Neuty eats.
He eats everything, you know, mostly corn, sweet potatoes. He likes milk bones, biscuits, pancakes. He's a junk food eater.
Nutria are herbivores, although they are known to eat the occasional mussel or crustacean. Growing up with his dad in his seafood shop, though, Neuty's grown accustomed to eating raw crawfish and shrimp, along with Nilla wafers, his absolute favorite treat. Neuty weighs about 22 pounds, putting him just above that average weight I mentioned earlier. That's to be expected for any animal living comfortably and not having to search for food. In the wild, Nutria eat about 25% of their body weight each day. Although I'm sure Neuty eats more.
He's kind of on the same schedule, so he'll come to work with me in the mornings, and then we'll get home. He can't get in my backyard. He'll wander the backyard, and he'll go swimming in out the pool. I got a saltwater pool.
The hurricane is coming. Neuty bear.
And then when he's ready to come in, he'll knock on the back door. I got glass French doors, and he'll hit his teeth. He does eat dry dog food too. So he'll eat some dry dog food, and we'll throw a towel on the ground, and he'll take the towel and bring it into our bedroom and in front of our vanity where he makes the nest on a little piece of carpet. Grab a couple dog toys, but once he gets on his rug, he's done for the night. And that's usually around 9 o'clock at night. And he don't go to sleep, but don't move. He stays there. Oh, he knows his name. Now, he don't listen like a cat. I mean, he listens like a cat. He don't come all the time, but he knows his name. Oh, yeah.
Natural. In your natural habitat, the parking lot of Dennis.
Like, he can be in my backyard at night, and I can't see him anywhere, and all I gotta do is call him Neuty, and no matter where he's at, he's gonna answer me. Arr!
Speaking of calls, let's compare me and Matt's calls from throughout our adventures to Neuty's.
Do it again.
Hey. What? Talk. Talk. What you doing? I know. I missed you.
Yeah, what sound do they make?
And then let's compare that to Dennis's call one more time. You can see all of his daily antics on his TikTok. I've been getting all of my clips that I didn't take at Dennis's seafood from there. Funnily enough, Neuty's TikTok even allowed me to see how much he hated the snow.
In the snow? He didn't like the snow. No, and my big dog didn't like the snow, which I was surprised. No, but Neuty got in the pool at night, you know, freezing cold.
Thanks to his permit, Lacoste takes Neuty everywhere. He loves sticking his head outside of the window on a car ride and loves swimming in the stream on trips with his family to Colorado. Back home when Mardi Gras hits, he's king of the parades and festivals. This year, he was king of the Mardi Paws parade, even though he arguably doesn't have any paws. I even got to hold him, although Matt didn't want to. He didn't feel any heavier than my big cat Liam, and he for sure was easier to hold. He just sat in my arms while he ate some snacks and I talked to customers.
He makes us laugh every day. I mean, he knows he's got made in the shade.
Eventually, I had to talk to Lacoste about some of his thoughts about things like the Nutria bounty and rodeo. I really thought he'd be against it, but he wasn't, although he didn't have too much to say about it.
Oh, they got to be, you know, killed. I mean, I know they destroy the wetlands, you know. I would never kill one. I would never eat one.
When talking to Professor Nyman about it, he didn't seem opposed to having one as a pet either.
That's one less on the landscape. That's one less we have to kill. Get your permit.
After a while, Matt and I were worn out and had to make our way back home. I'll be back though, not just to say hi to Neuty again, but probably to bring my mom to see him and also to thank Lacoste and his family for everything they contributed to this documentary. So after leaving that morning around 6:30, we made it back home around 5:30. That's when I sent these photos of Neuty to an artist friend of the channel, Claudine Diamond. Stay tuned for her final painting. I thought I was done filming, but something was itching at the back of my head, telling me that I needed to go check out something that people had told me they had seen throughout me filming this documentary. Nutria rats in the LSU Lakes. Keep in mind this is 5 minutes down the street from my house. I had had enough of hearing about it, so I put my drone in the air and started looking. After 30 minutes of seeing nothing but ducks and turtles, I found one. Sitting under a dead tree next to the busiest part of the road it could possibly be next to, it wasn't bothered by the drone or by the cars. If Nutria from Empire were here at LSU, they'd never come out of hiding. With that, I was done filming. The adventure had come to an end. And boy did we learn a lot, huh? It was around this time I got Claudine's art. Look at Neuty. I don't know how she does such a great job of capturing these animals. For this video, I actually took a stab at making a piece myself. I sat down for about half a day and drew the poster for this documentary as close as I could with charcoal and pencil. Here's how it turned out. You know, when filming a documentary, nothing is going to turn out exactly how you'd expect it to. I thought for sure this would be a short one. Just go out and find some Nutria, right? How hard could that be? Everyone is always talking about seeing them everywhere. I think the struggles helped us learn more though. Because of the cold front and eventual snow, we got to find out what Nutria do when it's freezing outside. At least we got to find out what Neuty does when it's cold outside. Because of my dozens of phone calls to find a free boat ride, I got connected with 2 riverboat captains who had tons of info and knowledge of the land and were able to get deep into the marsh, getting footage of Nutria in the wild we probably never would have gotten otherwise. I think my favorite part about making these documentaries is going out into the fields with people who love doing what they're doing. I want to give a special thanks to Wilton and Matt for coming with me on these shoots. They aren't getting paid anything but exposure with their footage, and maybe some lunch, and yet they still give it their all.
Facts. Nutriacs are like pigs. They can't see
It turns out the Nutria's impact on the environment can be pretty vast, and it seems despite the disputed rumors of their origin, people agree that they need to be dealt with. And although efforts to cull their population do matter, these animals from another hemisphere will never truly be gone. So I guess the best we can do is learn to live with them, either in our food or in our backyard. So, what'd you think?
Well, it's an excellent documentary, but I don't think you said rat enough.
You know they're not actually rats, right?
What?
They're not actually rats. I talked about this in the video. Why are you acting so surprised?
Well, I guess I wasn't awake for that part.
What?
I might have been asleep during when you explained that.
You slept through the whole research section? Well, then I guess there's no way of you knowing that when Nutria are tamed, they stand up on their hind legs and walk like humans.
Oh, really?
No! Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to LSU Productions for documentaries just like this one. These videos are very time consuming, so thank you to those who made it all the way through. All of the music for this video was locally produced, so thank you to all of our singers and songwriters. Links to their works are in the description. Finally, I want to thank our sponsor, Okitoki, for helping fund this video.